faces here and some new people too. This is awesome. Yeah, it's my pleasure as a publisher to see another fantastic creator. But you probably know who this young man here is, Jarrett Hartnell. A Calgarian, born and bred, right? No. No? Wow. Tell us more. Where are you from?
Was born in Stafford, which is not really a town. It's more just like a collection of acreages and stuff like that. So, farmed to Rainbow Lake for 5 years, way up north, very small town. Upgraded to Drayton Valley. It's like the meth capital of the world for a little bit, or something like that. But it was fun for a while. And then Red Deer for music college, and then here for this.
So
all over. I don't know. So where am I from?
So I'm just gonna we need to have a chat about the biography and the book, like it says where you came from and all that kind of business. To make some alterations. I think just put some of that rich texture in as that was. I think it's important.
I was like, I'm from Calgary. Like that's right. I didn't get it wrong, did I?
No. I'm also thinking, how many of those places have got little bookstores that need to know that you have some connections?
I'll make Rainbow Lake have a bookstore.
No? Drayton Valley has one.
You're gonna drive 2 hours to High Level, probably. To get a book.
I've been to High Level. It's a nice place. No? Nice place for a weekend. But they have a great Comic-Con at High Level. I went there with the schools. Yeah, that was really nice. If they invite you up there, you should go. Super enthusiastic.
I will.
They fly you in a tiny plane.
I used to find those for hockey tournaments. Little tiny, so you gotta get the earmuffs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
Because we drove 60 stuff a month.
See, I didn't know you were a hockey.
I was for a little bit. Tiny bit.
Proper Canadian. That's good. That's great. Well, let's go back in time, Jarrett Hartnell. To the point where you decided you wanted to be an illustrator, to be drawing things. Like, are you one of these artists that knew from a very young age that you were destined to put pen to paper and create?
No, not even a little bit. I don't think I drew a real picture until I was like 25. I didn't do anything. I was like music, so I like played guitar and I was like thinking I skateboarded and stuff like that, but I didn't like think about drawing or anything like that until a lot of my friends they were going to ACAD, which is now AU Arts, so I got to see what they were doing, and it was incredible. My best friend Aaron handed me my first comic at like 25 or something like that, because I hadn't really read a comic either. And then it was just like the first 4 issues of Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender and Jerome Pena, and it was mind-blowing. I didn't know that comics could do that, or they do that. It was very heavy and dark and emotional, complex. So now I want to draw comics.
At 25.
At 25, and music was slowing down. My vigor for playing shows at 11 midnight for 15 people was getting old. Who I played with, Aaron, which was a total blast. It was amazing fun, but I wanted to play shows at like 7. And then be home by 9. That'd be amazing. And I like, cause all the people I'm trying to be like, hey, if you buy a ticket in advance, you save $2. Because it'll be 10 at the door, 8 for me. And people are just like, I don't give a shit about $2. I also don't want to go out because the show starts at like 10. So it was pulling teeth trying to get other people. Oh, nice. It's too late.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't relate to that myself. When I was a young man, we were out all the time, but my
for a while, this was like, now I'm like 25, and I was like, yeah, you know.
25. Okay, I have 25, 23-year-old daughters. They don't do the late night thing either. Like they're 9 o'clock. I go to bed and read for a bit. Like, what are you doing? Like, the world is out there. And like, I'm pretty sure most of my boys go to bed this time too. When did it change?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't totally exciting anymore to be.
Yeah,
people were coming in droves, kind of thing, and being like, I'll be like, all right, I'll stay up late. But yeah, it was just, yeah, I felt bad because they're like, oh, yeah, I want to come to your show, but when are you on? Like 11 o'clock.
Can I watch the YouTube?
Yeah, and they're like, no, we're not YouTube.
Like, I know we were joking around a little bit about your background and all those things, but I genuinely did not know that you had not drawn anything before you turned 25. Like, that just blows my mind seeing the quality of the artwork you produce. Like, I'm a terrible artist, but I've been doodling since like a big pet. I just thought that you were just like 25. Like, try drawing stuff. And you've got some of your original artwork with you.
Yeah,
sure, right? Like the quality of that line work is somebody who obviously has put a lot of work into it, has a lot of talent as well. You know. Yeah, wow. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay, so you decided comics were your thing, given up on music. So how did you start? Like, did you just pick up a blank piece of paper and start trying to free-form it? Did you join some classes? Did you look online for guidance? Did you talk to some friends who were like drawing comics?
I had my friends who were kind of pretty much like finishing up at ACAD that I could see and like get help from and stuff like that, and like I just like watched them and got really excited. Like my wife, like, you know, incredible illustrator, tattoo artist, finance degree, illustration degree. So, you know, I was around her a lot too. So yeah, it was just copying like CD covers and stuff like that, or just whatever was kind of laying around because I didn't want to party anymore. But yeah, and then I was like, yeah, this drawing's going well. I'm gonna work this year to get my portfolio ready to apply to ACAD. And that way, I jumped, you know, into the deep end, all in kind of thing to do it comics all the way. You know, so I was gonna go into illustration. I was gonna focus everything on comics so that I come out. Because comics are incredibly difficult. Yeah, illustration is difficult for sure, but like comics is such specific communication and a whole bunch of communication, panel by panel by panel by panel, that it's kind of ridiculous and fun. I'm not like shitty. It's amazing. But yeah, what was I saying? It was really difficult, so I didn't want to like dip my toes into this and dip my toes into that. I wanted to be comics through until the end, and committed to it before, you know, I really knew I liked it.
Committed to it before you knew you liked it.
I knew I liked it when I read those first 4 issues, where I was like, because I wanted to be like a filmmaker in high school, and then I found out that there's way too many people involved in the making of a film. That, like, I also learned that, like, yeah, I want to do everything myself, and I can't stand relying on anybody else. I mean, not. It's true. But yeah, yeah, there's lots of stuff there. There's a lot of things. Where are we?
You're at ACAD learning comics. Come out at the end of your course, I guess. fully formed, loving the medium?
Yeah, I had to wrestle. Well, like at first I was kind of wrestling with some teachers to like, oh, I want to do comics. I don't want to do this project exactly. I want to do so it relates to comics, and I can just do comics. And then I learned really quick that it was not really wrestling anymore, because I would look at the project and then I was like, oh, well, this all has to do with the specific communication that's involved with comics, whether it's like environments or whatever. So yeah, I learned like, oh, well, it was like super easy to then go approach my teacher and be like, hey, well, I'm going to do this in a comic form. Here's why. It incorporates everything we're talking about, because comics are like all of that stuff essentially that I learned in school, like incorporate everything into comics. So
Yeah.
graphic design, symbolism, all the everything.
We're surrounded by elements of comics. Book covers share so much to do.
Well,
The mechanics of comics, like words and pictures together to convey a whole. It's easy to digest, but you're emotionally engaged in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but most of the books in this part of the store probably wouldn't want to be associated with comics, because we still have in North America that stigma that flow from the comics code, destroying it for so many people.
We need the French to come in and show us how it's done.
Yeah.
They don't like assembly line chop out like, make it. I don't care if it's good, as long as it's done. Kind of thing. Like, we gotta sell it. And then French comics is like, they do it so well. It seems. Wow.
Or maybe a trip to France has come up. A year or two creating graphic novels under the shadow of the Atlas. See that happening for you. So, Shall Kill Revel. When did the idea, this specific story, start to germinate in your mind? How did it start?
It was third year of ACAD, AU Arts, and third year is when you start doing projects with a little bit more like creativity and your own ideas kind of thing, less of like the fundamentals. So I wanted to do comics, and I wanted to draw comics specifically. I went to school to draw comics, and then I needed some little stories to draw with, and I was like, well, I don't want to like find a writer and find somebody to like write me a project that I could draw. So I was like, okay, I'll just like think of some stuff, whatever. So I had something to draw, and that like snowballed really fast, because the ideas of like Shall Kill Revel was just like Cthulhu Western. I think it was like a genre splice project specifically that it like really, I was like, that's cool, and I haven't really seen that done all that much or whatever, and I was like, hey, we'll do this. And then the ideas kept going and building of like what the character's gonna go through and what I could do, and I would read books. My labor job in the summer would be lots of time in the trucks and stuff like that, so I'd read, I'm doing all the showing you what I would be doing in the truck, reading a book, reading books on writing and stuff like that. Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, this is an absolute blast. Now I want to draw it and write it, and now I don't have to find a writer ever because that's scary too. So yeah, and then I learned, we did some graphic design stuff and like a little bit of typography in school, so I was just like, why don't I see what it would be like if I lettered it, and I'm gonna buy some books on that, and then I just ended up doing the whole thing. Because like the jobs are cut up so much that it's like kind of crazy, because we learned to draw and also color is like the other half of illustration. So it was really weird to me that like I would pencil and ink it, and then I would hand it off to somebody else to color. I'm like, well, I know color, and I like color a lot. I'm not going to do that. And then I was like, well, okay, then I'm going to hand it off to a letterer. It's like, well, and it's kind of said, not like hyper specifically, but it's like, oh, no, that's like a different job. And I was like, no.
Yeah, but you're kind of a unique, not unique, there are other creators that go down the same route as you. There's some people in the room that can do all the different elements, and they've taken the time to learn them and teach themselves.
For sure.
So
And I try and like tell everybody, like, do everything, even if you like letter, like a lot of pros say, like, if you practice lettering so you can just understand their job better for when you're drawing, to leave proper space and stuff like that. Because I was doing this book, and I was like, since I'm the letterer, I'll know where to put it, and I'll leave space. And then I figured out, well, I was like, well, shit, like, I left space, but it's like totally on the wrong side, like, for the flow and blah, blah, blah. And
so you weren't drawing onto your thumbnails, like, kind of where you thought the balloon should go?
I started doing that later, but yeah, at first, yeah, it wasn't. I would kind of just forget about that part for a while, 'cause I'm just like so focused on making sure the pictures are communicating. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Like for the people in the room that don't work in comics, like one of the reasons that the jobs involved in making a comic are divided up is time. Like, so an illustrator who's being paid by one of the big publishers, like Marvel, DC, and stuff like that, they're getting paid for illustration work, and they're getting a decent rate. If they were to then spend the next day working as a letterer, they're getting a much lower rate, and it's kind of not the best use of their time. So there's other people that specialize in lettering, and they can letter really well, really fast. And it just kind of means they can churn out, like monthly comics on a really fast schedule, which kills people eventually. But it kills them a lot slower than it would do if they were doing it.
Even if they're just doing like one job, like an artist doing a monthly book of like just pencils and inks is like too much. It's like not healthy, hardly ever. So I was just like, I'll do it all. So it's all. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, and well, like what I found, what started out is like fear of finding a letterer who's gonna care and do like a really good job. I learned that like since I did the like story and script and the art, when it came to letters, I could take risks and do things that a higher letterer like probably it wouldn't be appropriate for, like integrating the letters pretty deep into the illustration, or doing some kind of wacky stuff like that. And I really hope that adds, like, people see the added value of that, like editors particularly too, because yeah, there's things that I not got away with, but got to experiment with and do different things and weird things, and that wouldn't ever happen unless it's like a really good tight collaboration, which happens all the time too. With like artists and writers and letterers, they'll like link up and only work together on pretty much everything because they work so well. So that takes time.
Yeah, but there are many ways to make a book.
Yeah.
And some people work on your own is perfect. For other people, they need that collaboration. Like one of the things I love about working comics is the collaboration with a team of people.
Yeah, and I've been told many times that that's like the people's like favorite part. And
well, because a lot of us wouldn't meet anybody else apart from people we were working with on a book. So we're in a room being introverts, like just like quietly working on comics.
I like.
Yeah. I do too, but sometimes you need to speak to somebody.
I speak to you.
Yeah. Right. So tell me a little bit about the lead character in the book, Almina. Where did she come from?
She definitely came from me. It was always like write what you know sort of thing. So I wrote like an incredibly anxious character. And it was, things really snowballed that way because it was like, okay, well, it's like really easy to think about like what's my worst nightmare. It's like a massive crowd of people. Not you guys, you guys are good.
Not that bad.
You didn't surprise me. Like I knew people were gonna come today, so I was like, you guys are cool. But showing up to my house and needing something from me unexpectedly when I want to be left alone and it's quiet and this is like solitude and they're invading. You guys see the movie Mother? Most horrific movie of all time. It's like watch Mother and you'll just like that's kind of if it terrifies you. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
You're famous now. You're gonna have to get used to people telling your house.
Just give me a heads up. Give me a heads up, and then like don't linger.
Anyway, back to Helena. Okay, so Helena's got a lot of you in that character, but you also chose a woman to be the lead character in the story, and you chose an African American woman to do it, which for a white guy from Alberta is a pretty bold choice to make.
Yeah, like firstly it became easier. I don't know, it was always really difficult for me to make a main character a guy, and I kind of learned that it's kind of harder to, I don't know, it's really difficult for me to like make them vulnerable and emotional and not, I don't know.
The male character?
Yeah, I get no inspiration kind of from like writing like a dude main character. I don't know, it's like I get a block, but like a female character gets to be this wide spectrum of like, strong and vulnerable and everything, Men are, we all know that men are that's kind of beaten out of you and bullied out of you in school and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm
Like,
glad you got to school there with your parents.
my parents raised me to be very in touch with my emotions and stuff like that. So, thanks, Mom and Dad. But yeah, it was like I just couldn't come up with like ideas for why I should care about a dude main character kind of thing. Like, and you could like pretty much cut and paste, like I'm not talking about feminism in the book or being black, like, because that's not my place. So that was a really interesting kind of reason why I wanted to do it. I'm not really sure why I haven't talked about this far. Like I've thought about it, but articulating it. It was because I really wanted to do it. But I wanted to be respectful and what I'm talking about in the story is like anxiety and fear and crowds of people showing up at your house. And that's universal kind of thing, right? So it wasn't to talk about, but in the same sense that since she is a woman, it made me think about how is this situation different for her than it would be for me. A bunch of scary dudes staring at her in the saloon is way scarier than if it were me. I'd be like, oh, okay, they want to fight or whatever, right? And I'd be scared. But everything's harder. More like, intense, I guess. So it allowed me to explore that, and I learned so much just by wondering what that would be like. How is this going to be different? That sort of thing. So, which I super enjoyed. I got to learn. I guess that's a big part of why it wasn't just like a dude, because I know how that would feel. That would be kind of typical, I guess. But I really had to think about how she would feel, what that situation means for her as a black person, as a female, that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody following that? Yeah. Look, we talked about this at the beginning when we agreed to come on board the book, and about the reasons for choosing a black woman to be the protagonist. And I am very much of the opinion that we do not have enough female people of colour as the protagonist heroes in all of our stories. As long as you're not trying to own their own stories and their lived experiences, then
Yeah.
we need more of them in all types of genres.
And that was
But you've got to do the work. You've
Yeah.
got to be respectful, and that's why we spent a lot of time talking about it. You were thinking, spent time really thinking about what it meant to go down that path.
Yeah, and it was like, obviously that was like a main thing too for me, was like, I don't want like another like white dude in the story kind of thing. If I doesn't need to be, why does it need to be? Because I would also have all these like instincts too, where in the first sketches it was a white dude, because I took reference photo of me doing it, and then it was just like a white, and I was just like, oh, that was, I didn't even like choose that, it just happened that way. And then I was like, well, why? Because that's what you typically see all the time. And I didn't, so whenever I caught myself doing those automatic things, I was like, okay, left turn. I don't want to make an automatic choice. I want it to be considered and for a reason. And, you know, in this story, she's kind of like black and female for no other reason than for me to explore somebody else other than what we've seen 8 billion times. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not saying anything about like women's, I'm not like teaching anybody lessons about feminism or anything like that, but like all of that is ingrained in there just by her being a woman. So I had to make sure and think about and learn, and because I'm the pilot.
Yeah. I think you did a very good job with that line. You caught anybody's lived experience. I think the book is stronger for it, especially for the self-reflection and the work that you did to get to that point. And a lot of that happened as the story started to evolve, I think, as well, and got longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a little bit longer.
Started out as like, oh yeah, she's got anxiety, because I have anxiety every day. And then I really learned what that anxiety was by the time I was drawing the last couple pages of like the journey of looking back, and like I was just like, oh, this is bigger than I thought. It's like,
Yeah, what did you think? It was around about 90 to 100 pages or something, where it's going to be?
you asked for 8.
Those were innocent days.
But you also picked, so I had like 3 pitches. I had like a Viking story, a post-apocalyptic story, and this Shout Kill Revel. And you saw Shout Kill Revel, and you're like, this one, I want this one. And I was like, okay, well, like, fair warning, like I don't have like an actual pitch for this. I don't have like a plot. Nothing's, I just have, you know, Cthulhu, Western, cults, gunslinging, otherworldly stuff. And and you're like, we can do the other ones you said? And you're like, this is the one. Okay, well, I'll get writing. Because, yeah, I didn't have anything for it. So when I tried to write an 80-page story, and I didn't know how to do that. So it became, you know, the plot became way bigger. And at the time it was like 100, 110 pages. It was kind of like, if I cut any more, this isn't going to make sense. This isn't going to make sense. This isn't the payoff's not going to happen anymore. So I've like got it down to the bare bones, but it's going to be longer, and I'm just got to be like okay with that. You got to be okay with that. Because what I had made, it needed to be told the way it needed to be told, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I did try and find places in the script as it evolved to trim the fat. Like, one of the things we try and do is to try and keep the storytelling compressed so it's always moving. So for this kind of a book, you don't want to have points where the reader's going to just start thinking about something completely different. It's not that kind of a book.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anywhere where we could edit it down. It's a shorter because it probably could have been a little bit longer. We had carried on working on it. But I'm glad we did it.
We added 4 pages actually too after it was finished. After some proofreads went out.
It's a print deadline eventually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jarrett, this is your original artwork. Can you just talk us through your process from a blank page to... Yeah, I'm trying to think of how we best do this because the microphone being in the way for everybody. Like from blank page to scanning, I guess, first.
So I work, and for most of it, like I was definitely learning as I was going what my best process was going to be, and what worked for me. The whole thing was a huge learning curve because I had done like 30 pages total before this during school. So yeah, I was learning throughout the whole thing, but I ended up, I'll draw my thumbnails, like the really small, like planning, very loose sketches, like digitally. That way I can like, oh, this panel needs to be mirrored, and I could just do that instead of like redrawing the thumb kind of thing backwards. Or I could make this bigger because it needs to be this big, or I could cut into this panel. I could plan these kind of situations out where this is cutting into the next panel. So yeah, digitally I would do like a batch of like 10, or depending on the, kind of do like plan the whole scene as best I could. And then I would blow it up to 11 by 17, print it off, and then I would use a light table. So I'd put just like the printer rough behind the watercolor paper and turn the light table, just like bright light shining through so I can see the drawing underneath. And then I would pencil on the details and finer things, and then I would ink onto that. And then,
so were you inking with a brush?
Yeah, inking almost the whole thing with a brush. I tried to do a little bit of like nib stuff, but I found that just a smooth brush kind of thing is what I ended up doing mostly. And then yeah, there's like screen tones cut out and stuff like that I threw on. But yeah, brush and ink wash, because I would color digitally for like, because I was told you don't want to color. And then I did that. This is my pitch that I want to do for my next book, and I was just like, told me I couldn't? Well, you asked. But I don't like working digitally. It's just not the work kind of thing. It doesn't feel as, I just like the tactile, I guess. Great tool, obviously, and like, digital art is amazing. But I just don't like the actual process of using the computer pretty much for anything. So I would ink wash my tones and my shadows and stuff like that. That way I could just like drop blue for his uniform in, and he's got the tones and the shadows. Everything already, and that would just speed up the coloring kind of thing. And then I lettered digitally as well. I tested hand lettering, but even like tracing comic letters is like, I couldn't get anywhere close, which is a good thing, because we need another year.
Yeah, it is a very good thing. Okay, well thank you. So, grab the copy of the book. Because you did do colouring yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went from that to this. So, what's your colouring process? Digital colouring process.
Digital coloring, it was always about mood. That was been like the easiest kind of compass for me to start. Like, I will color. What was a good example? I'll color everything like what it's like supposed to be. Essentially, like her poncho is like burgundy, so I'll just like throw that on, and then I'll go in and I'll drop over tons of pink, tons of red, for, you know, like, this guy's really mad and he's yelling and he's like completely red. There's no other color in there. So that was like red for anger, just keep it super simple, and pink and purples for magic. Very simple. So it wasn't anything super complex or in depth or anything like that. Blue, cold, sad, you know?
So
Not always,
were you
but
painting, or were you like traditional colouring where you put in black colours? And then
I didn't paint like hardly at all, because I have like a drawing tablet and stuff like that, and I use it for, and I would just like lasso tool the face, drop the color in, and then I'm using like gradients and stuff like that for like light source, and that extra, all the pink and red and stuff like that, to give it all the mood and different layers and stuff like that over top of the inks. No, it's just it's very simple if you're just thinking about the mood and the colors that those moods coincide with. It's just it becomes instinctual, not because my instincts are so strong. You know, it's just that's a simple way to color, I guess. And then it translated pretty well into the watercolor.
yeah, he says it's non-instinctual, but it obviously is.
Well, it's
right?
instinctual, but it's not. But it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm so special.
No.
It's like,
that doesn't,
you know.
doesn't sound like what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say you have got a natural instinct for understanding how the emotion of colour works in the story.
I mean, I had a blast. I have always like loved colors that way, like color theory. And as soon as you put this color against this color, the meanings change, and you know, like it can go from red being love or warmth to hot, angry, fire, danger, and I just love doing that so much. So I guess nobody's gonna color my stuff. Sorry.
I'm glad you have a passion for it.
But with that as well, like I like develop my ink style and stuff like that, so that I could do things quickly, so that I have a chance to, you know, meet deadlines and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, deadlines are a thing. That's true. I'm not getting any younger.
I didn't want it to be this long. I didn't want it to be 6 years.
No criticism. Like good things are worth waiting for.
Yeah, I couldn't go back. I said maybe we do it in like 2 books, like volume 1, volume 2 or something. So.
Oh, I thought this was volume 1. Which leaves me with one final question. What's next? Like you teased the pitch in the original artwork.
Yeah, I got a handful of pitches that I'm exploring and trying to get to like the heart of, and trying to learn how to articulate, because telling a story, I feel like I got a good grasp on that, but telling somebody else about the story or why it's going to be a good story, or there's key points, it's all really interesting, and everything's important to me. So then my pitch is like super long, but your pitch has to be 1 page, and it's got to be this format, which is awesome. Just like, hello, any editor out there watching this, I'm really but it's true, I am.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something funny to say, but no.
Shut up.
But I'm pretty. pretty pleasant experience.
Yeah, and like, yeah, you just getting
Had to be for such a long time. Yeah, no, it's been good.
That's what I mean. I put the charm on, and then it won't matter how long it takes.
But it's been great. We have about 15 minutes left, so I'm gonna, unless there's something you're dying to tell everybody, I'm gonna turn us over to the floor for questions. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Jarrett? Easy one's good, hard one's slightly more difficult.
Will they be able to?
There's possibility. I didn't want to until this was done, and then I was like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, and then I thought, but there could be, and then I started snowballing with ideas for a very separate kind of story with the same characters that spring from this kind of thing in different ways. Like, I don't want to spoil anything because it's a sick idea. Maybe.
Watch this space.
I'll, yeah, whenever I'm now ready to draw write another one right now. So if that's the one that, like, I'm not actively pitching that one, but maybe I should.
Maybe. It's always good to have a bunch of pitches going. Right?
I'm trying to, like, whittle them down.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's not like a shotgun of, like, okay, I got this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. It's like I have these 3 strong home pitches. That way, it doesn't look like I'm just, like, throwing.
So which route do you see yourself going down with the pitches? Pitching to the bigger publishers that have got enough money to pay decent advances, like big advances, or to the funding route now that you qualify for the federal bigger grants? Or both?
I definitely am open for any of it.
Wherever the money comes from.
Wherever the money comes from, like, yeah. I mean, the funding route from, like, grants and stuff like that, obviously, it's just gonna be me, I think. It's not gonna be some, like, for somebody from the government coming in and being like, nope.
No. We could talk
Those
about it
suits are coming?
in more detail, but, like, you could apply for Candidate Council tomorrow. I can help you with putting your application together.
Yeah.
And you apply for your writing money, time to research, working with an editor, and money to draw it. You can either do it in stages, or you can just apply for a big chunk of cash, like 25 grand or something. I'd like some of the creators we work with, they apply for research and writing first, and then they go back and look for money to find the time to then illustrate the work.
Okay.
When they realise just how long it's going to take them to do it, they're like, okay, this is 2 years working part-time or a chunk of the time off from work, doing other paid illustration work.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've always really wanted to, be published with, like, Image Comics or Dark Horse or, like, the big guys, but it seems to be just getting more difficult and more messy as time goes, in a lot of ways, that the funding route seems like a nice, pleasant kind of way to do it.
Well, you could pitch yourself for doing monthly comics, doing covers for you if you want. I'm pretty sure that your work, if there's enough of it out there that you just...
I'm so long as they don't want just somebody punching somebody else.
We're talking about DC and Marvel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were talking about, like, maybe Dark Horse or something like that.
Oh, right, Dark Horse.
But, I mean, yeah,
Dark Horse should be easier. I know a couple of the episodes of Dark Horse. I'm not really up to date with Marvel or DC, so...
Well, going from, when I started, I was just like, if I got a Wolverine comic one day, whoo, that'd be so sick. And that would be cool. But, like, what I want to do story-wise is take Wolverine or take Batman and, like uproot them and flip their world upside down and put them through the ringer kind of thing. And that probably isn't going to be what they want.
I don't know, you can pitch it, like the Elseworlds projects and some of the other things they've done.
Yeah.
Like those.
That would probably be where I would shoot for, or like say like this would probably be best for this. Just
Yeah. I think having that kind of idea in your mind, letting the universe know about it, and then finding the right editor at some point, just pitch it. And then they'll be like, you know what, I do like that stuff that you've done. I really like it. Let's see the pitch for your Batman.
Right. Yeah.
And then maybe they give you a one-off 30-page, like Jarrett's take on Batman, and then a bit more of that kind of work, and then you can go to Image and say, hey, look, the work I've done for DC, I have a big following now. I have enough of a fan base to launch a book there too. It's a good plan.
I'm definitely not like opposed to. I mean, that all sounds really wonderful. I'm not, but like I'm just like I wouldn't want to be hired to do the main Spider-Man. I'm saying this right now. If they phone me up, I'd be like, yeah, sick. But I don't think that would last very long for me because I want to push things. If you read this, if things get pushed really far, the farthest I could go, kind of thing. And that's not what Spider-Man is. You ruffle the feathers and stuff like that of Spider-Man.
People get mad at Spider-Man no matter what in comics.
Just let me do whatever I want. And the same number of people will get mad, and the same number of people will be happy.
Yeah, as it has always been.
But that's the thing is like, yeah, they've always been like, we want to please as many people as possible, with, not offend like anybody or upset anybody in any way, and I don't really think that makes for very strong stories.
Yeah.
They can be fun and stuff like that. I'm not like, trashing them. I'm really easy to work with, editors out there.
Yeah. Likes to Batman. Had a question at the back.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the relationship between your building of the character, the drawings, and the story, like the order that came in. Did you write the story and then figure out what you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out comic writing and that process of taking an idea and fleshing it out, and like, what was that? Does that make any sense?
It does. Like, did I have this character and then build a story around them, sort of thing? I didn't really. I guess I would have started with the character because I was needing stuff to draw in school, and I didn't actually have like a script like written out because I didn't start with those like the comic pages that I came out with. I started with the projects of like, you're gonna do 2 images. Mind me hitting you?
I felt like you needed to be free the hands.
Breda. 2. I can't remember. Maybe Nick remembers. It's like dark and light, like happy, sad project where you have to do. I'm horribly explaining it.
It was like a mood symbols project where one was utopia and one was dystopia, but they're the same world. But you just changed the entire mood with the colors. And
So like I did Helmina for that, and I didn't have a story at all for. I was just like, yeah, that'll be a comic one day, and I'm gonna like practice it. So I tried to do like 2 different comic covers kind of thing for that. But anyways, I think there's, for me, there's those kind of like what came first gets in the way of like letting it happen. Like if you have an idea for a story and you don't have a character, it's just a matter of like, okay, well this story is about money, so it's going to be a greedy person, and then the character grows from there, and they work on Wall Street, and maybe they learn that money's the root of all evil or whatever, and then now you have a completely kind of different. You might have a completely different story after that, but yeah, I think it's more. For me, it was more organic, I guess. I don't know if that answers your question. There's not really a strategy that I followed of like make the character first and their problems and then make the story to follow that. That's a great way to do it.
Did you find yourself going back and forth between the two? Like you talked about writing a story and then writing the script, and I'm curious about like during that process, if it was organic, were you going between the two things, drawing characters, drawing situations, going to the story?
It was very malleable throughout, for sure, where I had this idea for this, and then it grew into something else, and I thought I knew what I wanted to happen, but if it actually switched and went this way, as I'm doing it, like, for me, I don't know if I would make a very strong story if it was like day one and it's like planned and nothing's gonna change and nothing's gonna like deviate from my plan. That's like the way, for me, that like definitely wouldn't work. There was a lot of, and I was learning about myself throughout the whole thing, and there's like tons of myself in there, and as I was learning these things were automatically changing, and it was very the branches grow kind of thing. So as long as you're making progress in like one department of drawing and you got heavy character ideas for a month or whatever, and like just dig into that, and then the more you dig into that, the more the story will grow, because they're all one thing, right? So
that's helpful because it validates that that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
right? Yeah.
If you think it's not okay, do it. Because I learned a lot of things, and I mistook a lot of things for hard and fast rules. And I went to school for illustration, so it was like, don't do this. And one teacher said, don't do this, that's dumb. In regards to a pencil technique. And I was like, but that was like first year, so then I believed it and was like, oh, I want to do this right. I want to come out working and killing it, so I'm going to believe everything. And then as I went through, or as I graduated, I was working by myself and stuff like that, I was like, like, why did I believe that? And I'm learning a lot of things that I was told, don't do this. Lettering is another job. You don't know how to letter. You're not a letterer. I'm like, well, how do you become a letterer? You learn how to letter. That's it. Now I'm a letterer. Like, it is a different job, but I'm not just an illustrator. And there's like a billion comic artists is getting more and more popular now, where they write their own stories, or an inker is becoming a full illustrator, drawing, penciling, and everything like that. So, yeah, question all of the rules, every single one, because the system we have right now it works for some things. It works for Marvel, DC. I mean, they struggle with that too, where it's like people are getting bored of the same old stories, but they don't want change. Blah, 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 blah. So, going on a rant here, but I'm very passionate about this because it's like what I try and teach in my classes heavily is I'll be telling my students that, like, hey, so if you're gonna do this, you wanna do this and not this, and then I'll catch myself and say, or if you're gonna do it this way, you gotta figure out how to make it work. Because if it's a don't do this, it's that nobody's figured out how to make that work yet. And then all of a sudden you started creating something brand new, and you might fail or whatever. At least you're like pushing things, because we're not done inventing ways to make comics. Like, it's such a massive thing that, like, yeah, I want to push. I want everybody else to push. Makes sense. What's your question? Yeah.
There's a question here.
Yeah, I was curious. It's a question for you.
Me? Oh, no.
About you two.
Relax.
I was curious because you have an interesting role as a publisher where you're always kind of supporting emerging artists, their first projects, and I feel like you see like a little ember in their stories. And I was wondering in this one, what made you want to? Yeah.
Interesting question. So, yeah, why this one?
Do you remember the 10 pages of it?
Yeah, like, I try and find, like, one of the things we can do as a small press publisher in Western Canada, because it is so hard, comics, and to be a publishing company is really tough. If I'd known 17 years ago when we first started doing comics just how tough it was, I wouldn't have done it, because it's, it's the toughest part of the publishing industry. The publishing industry is tough, like, even just with words, it's really expensive and hard to make money as a company or for your authors. And comics is worse. So one of the things we can do is try and find great people who are nice to work with, have something to say, write creatively, their heart is in the right place, their morals are in the right place, and do what you can to help them get to the point where they can get out there to readers, and then hopefully they can like blossom and flourish, or go, that was awful, never doing another comic ever, but thank you for getting me through it. And I remember, like, was it Calgary Expo or was it Panel One? It was one of those two shows.
I talked to you both.
Yeah, I think it might have been Panel One when I made up my mind. I go around and meet everybody with their samples and things like that to see their artwork, to see where they're at and what their drive is and what else they're doing. And there was something about Jarrett's like work and how he talked about it, the passion and everything. It's like, okay, this guy's got the right tick boxes. So now it's like, okay, let's come up with a short, like let's choose a project, a short book, an 80-page book, so he can get from start to finish, because so many creative people never finish their work in whatever discipline it is, whether it's writing, art, music, film, just like everything. But like, it's hard to finish something, and if you want to have a career in your creative pursuit, you need to finish things, because you learn so much. We get so many things wrong our first time through, so we need to go, oh yeah, that's what I meant to do. Okay, well, next book is going to be better. But you also have that accomplishment, and who wants to read a 75% finished book, or a comic book, or a movie where the final 20 minutes is missing, or a TV show with the last 2 episodes? You don't want to go through that process. So you need to finish it to get it out there. So many reasons. And you have 218 pages rather than 80. Yeah, and now, I don't know, maybe I'll come visit you in Hollywood Mansion in 10 years when you're doing stuff for the big guys, hopefully. Or we'll just carry on doing stuff together that you want to do over the next few years. Yeah, so I'm always looking. So yeah, but finding talented people who are nice to work with, because it's a long process. So I don't want to work with talented assholes or talentless nice people. So you need to find people that are always agreeing. Especially because it's a relationship a lot of time, and we've still got 11 months of a new book together before the next thing, right? Because it's not like a monthly comic. You've got 2 weeks to hit an audience and you're done. If your book has not made it, forget about it. You're dead in the world. Now, a new book is a year of being a new book, and that's pretty exciting, because it's the book's birthday every day. So we're kind of stuck with each other for a bit longer. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Then I will say, Jarrett Hartnell, creator, writer, artist, letterer, and designer of Shelf Revel. It's been a pleasure hosting you this evening in Shelf Life. Thank you to Shelf Life, thank you to Jun for this fantastic event. We have some refreshments, coffee, water, tea, some wine over there. And we've got 54 minutes to chat, buy books, sign books, get to know each other. Thank you for being here. It's really nice to see the turnout and the support for another talented Calgary